This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as The Zone in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? It is great to be back with you. I hope your weekend has started well. Tonight we're going to go through all the latest Liverpool transfer stories, as you would always expect. It is your show. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And before I forget, let's get cracking with the 100. Right, ladies and gentlemen. So, the first poll of the night is up. And we're asking, would you take Jules Kounde at Liverpool this summer? There's been a little bit of chatter behind the scenes about the possibility of this one. Barcelona could be putting him up for sale. He is 27 years of age, so, you wouldn't be getting much of a sell-on fee later on. But as somebody to come in, maybe bit of experience, can play right back, right centre back. I remember our friends at Anfield Index talking about that hybrid role, that maybe Liverpool were looking for somebody in that kind of ilk. This could be the solution, although everything that I've seen and read, I haven't yet seen a fee. So it could be astronomical and that could rule it out. But when I seen the story, I thought, wow, this is a really interesting one to have a chat about. So I thought we'd do it. Let me know your thoughts, of course. And I do realise he's 27, but remember, 1 year to go till Virgil leaves. Now, there has been a tiny bit of chatter about Virgil going earlier. I think it was a misquoted source that gave this information, so I don't think we've gotten to worry about there. But a year down the line, well, we do know Virgil's contract is up, and at that point, we've got a young Jeremy Jacquet, a young Giovanni Leone. So we will need a bit of experience in there. Now, of course, we're asking, is Nico Schlotterbeck going to be that experience down the line? Perhaps, but I want your thoughts on this one. Right, Riding the Storm, how are you, sir? Said, Craig, mate, yesterday was 19 years since I lost my brother Kev. Still hurts every day. It's why I share my story and why I created... Sorry, that's not reading properly from my side, mate. So I'm going to go a different way so I can read your comment fully. Bear with me. Yeah, it's not showing up. There we go. That's why I check in with you, your brother, today. Excuse me. I'm going to start this again because I've made a mess of it for you. Craig, mate, yesterday was 19 years since I lost my brother Kev. Still hurts every day. It's why I share my story and why I created Check-In with Your Brother Day to keep his legacy alive and help other men speak up. I'm so sorry, of course, Kev, for the loss of your brother, and I love the initiative, mate. I love all the work that you do, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. And it's something, unfortunately, that many families, many men in Ireland have to experience. I know 3 people from my own age group who've taken their own lives. So I definitely empathise with you, my friend, and thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for showing that strength. Always appreciate you. Sorry I messed up the initial one though, Riding the Storm. It wasn't showing up fully on my graphics, so I had to go old school to read it another way, my man. But thank you for sharing as always. Appreciate you, and you know that we love you here, my man. Right, ladies and gents, so I did start off with Jules Kounde, but I want to quickly move to Cody Gakpo if I can, because lots and lots of stories starting to come out now about a potential sale there for Cody Gakpo. So Anfield Watch posted earlier on to say that Liverpool would listen to offers of around £60 million for Cody Gakpo, according to a report on BBC. Spurs, Atletico Madrid have both been linked with the Dutchman. Is this a fair price, is what they asked. But then I was reading some comments. I think David Lynch was on Born and Red. Forgive me if I'm mistaken on that, but I believe it was Born and Red. And he said something along the lines of, well, actually, I can give you the exact quote. He said, with Gakpo, what is interesting, Liverpool made it clear to me that they would sell him for the right price. If somebody comes in with the right money, which is a big if, I think we could be looking in the region of 65, 70 million quid. Now, this is something that I said to you guys a while back that we've been hearing as well. And that is the number. I mean, I couldn't agree more with David Lynch there. If somebody puts 60, 65 million quid down on the table, I think it certainly gets them into the conversation to sign Cody Gakpo. Now, people will come back and say, look, the club have said that they don't have any intention of selling him. They're not going to say that publicly, are they? They have to protect the value of the asset. And one of the things when we talked about Cody Gakpo's contract and how it was a little bit higher than we all thought, one of the things in that, though, was to protect his value. And Liverpool have done that. So if they get a fee of 60, 65 million, I think he's gone this summer. Now, Liverpool don't want to leave themselves short, and we have to have a chat about that one as well. But I do think it is not out of the realms of possibility that we could see Gakpo moved on if somebody slaps that 60 million down. This one, Grizzly said, why not bid for Nico Schlotterbeck now so we have him for the following year? If we wait, it'll be a bidding war. He's injured. And look, you could still negotiate, of course you could, but the release clause that was rumoured to be in his contract, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, Grizzly, but it was linked to the World Cup. So the fact that he's out injured for, I think it's 8 weeks with a ligament injury, that means his World Cup is over, and that could mean at least the clause part of his contract is out. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't try to agree a deal with Borussia Dortmund for him, but would you really get him through a medical, let's say, before the window shut? I don't think so, not if the ligament damage is still there. So I really don't know on this one. It is certainly a player who I expected a lot of interest in this summer from clubs, but yeah, on this one, my man, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think on the situation with Jules Kounde as well. Like I've said, I'm not saying this is nailed on or anything like it, but it's something relatively new that came up over the last day or two that I thought I'd bring to you because I haven't been on live for a couple of days. Podrick, how are you, dude? Said, are you watching the World Cup? I am, but I'm not saying I'm getting bored of it. That's a lie. I feel like some of the games now are a bit meh. Like, I tried to watch that game last night. Which game was it again? The one that ended 0-0. I can't remember which one it was late last night, but it was an absolute snore fest. So I'm kind of dipping in and out of it, to be honest with you. I'm not overly excited. But here's what does excite me about the World Cup, and this will probably sound a bit silly, but I'm looking forward to the knockout stages, but not because I want to see who goes through. I'm going to be sitting there ticking off every time a Liverpool player gets eliminated from the World Cup because I know that's one less injury concern we have to worry about. So, yeah, Paraguay versus Australia, that was the one. That was horrendous. Oh my days, that was so bad. Because they kind of knew what result they needed to both go through. But yeah, I'm looking for the knockout stages because I want to see Liverpool players come back injury-free. And yeah, I'm probably a bit of a shithouse in that regard. I know people go, oh, we'd love our boys to win the World Cup. I've always been honest with you and said, when they're on international duty, I just don't want them getting injured. What have we got here? So, how am I pronouncing this one? Luaten said, Carlos Baleba, 22 years of age, still has lots to offer. He had a bad season, does not make him a bad player. No, but what makes him impossible is the £100+ million that they're going to ask for him. And that's been what's put off Manchester United and what's put off other clubs. I would have thought by this point Carlos Baleba would have been sold and he would have been at one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League. But that asking price, it's ridiculous. And I remember reading an article about how they do their valuations of players at Brighton. And they basically, with Tony Bloom, want to sell at his peak future value when he leaves that club before he even reaches his full potential. And that's a hard sell. Now, I know the irony is we're kind of in that situation now with Diomande, but I don't think anyone's ever going to pony up that money for Carlos Baleba unless Brighton drop their asking price. And I'm sure at some point he'll want to move away. But for now, I just don't think it's a realistic one for us. David, how are you, my man? David Cornwell said, hi, Craigo. Would you swap Gakpo for Vuskovic plus 10 or 15 million with Spurs? Yes, but again, the important part is that we replace Gakpo. You know, because we couldn't go into the season and not have 4 wide players. That would just be madness. So if we move on Cody Gakpo, I'd have no problem with moving him on, but we do have to replace him. So will it be BARCOLA? Will it be Fernandez Pardo? Will it be somebody else? I don't know. We'll run through some of the stories though. Let me run through some of the news for you. So where do we start? Let's start off with a little bit around Andoni Iraola's backroom staff, as there has been a little bit of developing news on that over the past few hours. Anfield sector posted to say confirmed Bournemouth coaches Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper agreed deals to leave the club and are now set to join Andoni Iraola at Liverpool. Both needed to agree terminations before being allowed to leave. This has now happened and the deals will be signed at Liverpool, they say, this weekend. Now, a little bit on from that, there was a report earlier on. I just want to give the journalist credit, so bear with me. It was Alex Crook who said, understand that Burnley made a play for Tommy Elphick deal to join Iraola at Liverpool too far down the line, but he has a lot of interest in him and will be a manager in the future. If I'm not mistaken, Bristol also tried to agree to bring him on as their manager in May, but of course he is now going to be part of Andoni Iraola's backroom staff, so we will see those contracts signed over this weekend. With Ramos sold, will PSG go for Diomande? Joseph, I think we're here, bro. I think me and you, we're both here, because that is exactly where my head went, mate. When I seen that they'd agreed that deal with Gonzalo Ramos to go to AC Milan, as well as the Kang In Lee stuff and his interest from Atletico, it really did feel like Liverpool need to get cracking. Look, as far as I'm aware, we don't have a battle at this moment in time to sign Diomande. Diomande wants to come to Liverpool, but you know, if he keeps playing well at the World Cup and PSG do start to free up that space, it certainly would give you at least a moment of concern. Yeah, so that's exactly, Joseph, same as your good self, mate. As soon as I seen that earlier on, my head went to the same place as yours. All right, what else we got on the chat before I dip back into the news? Let me see. Right, let's go to Bruno Guimaraes, actually, because this situation is quite interesting. This report from Graham Bailey, which has been backed up by other journalists, have said that intermediaries representing Bruno Guimaraes opened exploratory talks with top teams in the Premier League, offering his services to Liverpool, where sources confirm interest in the midfielder remains significant. But the ones who are actually making a move here are Arsenal. It's rumoured that Arsenal are coming in with a second offer for Bruno Guimaraes, so let's wait and see where that one goes. This here from Transfer News Live said Arsenal have held talks with Bruno Guimaraes representatives but have not submitted a bid for the Newcastle midfielder. We believe that has since changed. Andre Berta is discussing multiple midfield options at the same time, including Sandro Tonali, Alex Scott, Mateus Fernandes and Ayoub Bouaddi. Now, there could be a chance here for Liverpool with Bouaddi. If Arsenal are looking in another direction, Paris Saint-Germain haven't yet made a move and are kind of humming and hawing about it. Real Madrid looking like they're going to bring in either Enzo Fernandez or somebody else in the middle of the park. This gives Liverpool a chance. And I hope they try to capitalise on it and get in Bouaddi's ear, because, you know, this could be a good opportunity for us to seize the initiative. Diomande is class, but there are other options. But yes, there's a drop-off. And that is the problem, Manny, isn't it? There are other options, like you've said, bro, but it is quite a drop-off when you're talking about the calibre of players out there. Yeah, look, this one is one that I can't lie. If we don't get Diomande, it's going to feel like a big letdown. I just can't get away from that one. But then again, I really do think we're going to get Diomande. Nothing's changed in that regard from anybody I've spoken to. They still all feel confident about it, but it's just a matter of when. And David Lynch, again speaking with Born and Red LFC, said on the Diomande deal, I do lean towards the idea that this gets done. The players clearly indicated to Liverpool, for Liverpool to be pushing this hard, his desire to move. I think Leipzig wouldn't be engaging at all if they had no desire to sell. And I think Liverpool have shown that they're willing to pay a big, big fee as well. They really do rate him. I know for a fact he's the number one target. Hopefully, we're moving to a conclusion. Now, Lewis Steele said something similar recently as well, that he's pretty optimistic, is that the right word, that Liverpool get it done. But of course, they're all playing catch-up, because we told you guys this 4 or 5 days ago. But I hope you're now seeing that, you know, the stories are then coming into the mainstream and are coming through as we discussed previously. And that's why I'm so confident on this one, because when you've got people who are usually cautious, like David Lynch would be a knowledgeable journalist, but a cautious journalist about pinning his colours to the mast. and he's leaning towards it as well. Lewis Steele leaning towards it. Other people that I've spoken to behind the scenes feel the very same. So this, it's not done till it's done, but it definitely feels positive. How do you feel with Oscar Bob as an option? Didn't he just move to Fulham though? So I don't think he's going to want to move already. Yeah. And certainly with Fulham's new incoming head coach and that, they're not going to want to lose Oscar Bob. Seems not reach 150 million. Can it by Diomande? Orbi always play for selling players. They're not going to get 150 million. Like, I'm going to be flat out about that. They're not going to get it, not from Liverpool, not from PSG, not from anybody. Because, and I say this with a straight face, he's not worth it. He's not worth it. Like, I'm having to jump through mental hoops here to try and find a way to justify 120 million euro in my mind for somebody with 1 year. But Liverpool won't go to 150, and Leipzig know they have to sell. The player has informed them that he wants to move on. The agency, as we've talked about before, is getting a little bit frustrated about how it's working out. So they're not going to get him to agree to a new contract from the looks of it. So he will be sold, but they're not going to get 150 million euro. In fact, yeah, they're just not. No one's going to pay that. Liverpool won't pay that. How much would Jules Kounde be worth? I don't know. That's one thing, what I mentioned at the very start of the stream, that's one thing I haven't seen is a potential price. Look, Barcelona would have to be somewhat realistic about it. He's 27 years of age, so they're not going to get a huge fee, but that would also put him, I guess, in his prime right now. So, Liverpool won't do crazy numbers at centre-back. I don't expect him to go out there and spend 80 or 100 million quid on a centre-back. But we do need somebody, and somebody of Kounde's experience, I think, could be beneficial. Now, look, he doesn't have all the attributes you'd want. He's not as tall as you'd want, but he can play right-back as well, as we've seen before. Alejandro said, we just need to be patient until Diomande comes back from the World Cup and makes it clear to Leipzig that he wants out. Leipzig are already aware that he wants out. Now, I agree with you, Alejandro, about having to be patient, but I gotta say, dude, patience is not something that I'm overly blessed with. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, mate. I'm a very impatient person, so I hate having to wait around, and I hate when things aren't in our control. Craig, I'm struggling with the lack of homegrown players. Who do you think will get into bolster the squad? Who would tick that box? If you asked me that question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have almost certainly thought it would be the midfield signing. That would be the homegrown one. And that very well could still be the case. But I don't know, is the honest answer. Like, it's very difficult to balance homegrown and realistic valuations these days. You're seeing that deal for Manchester City for Anderson. It's like, is it 130 million? Something like that. And it's an all-cash deal. It's ludicrous. But that's what they're going for now. So if Liverpool are to go homegrown, I think they might have to be somewhat clever about it. Now, I got to reiterate this again. When we talk about the homegrown quota, there isn't such a thing as a homegrown quota. There is just a minimum or a maximum amount of non-homegrown players or overseas players that you can have at 17. And if you want to build out your full 25-man squad, then you have to have at least the 8 homegrown players. So it is an issue, but I don't know how big of an issue just yet. Again, if we lose Curtis Jones, that would be another homegrown player gone. And I really don't know what the situation is with him, as it looks like nothing new is really developing there. Isn't Nemecha homegrown? I'm not sure, Tobias. Could very well be. Somebody said something to me the other day, actually, and maybe somebody can do a quick check for me on this one. If Liverpool signed BOUADDI, would he still count as homegrown in 3 years' time because he came in and did 3 years under the age of 21 or before the end of his 21st birthday? Somebody had mentioned that the other day. But on the Mecha, I'm not sure if he was there for 3 consecutive seasons at Manchester City's academy or in the UK, then yes, I guess is the answer. Newcastle with a name that I'd seen linked around with Nemecha today, but then again, Newcastle's name has been thrown around everywhere lately. If Jones goes, it's going to hurt not having a scouser in the team or squad. I agree, and I don't see the upside of letting Curtis Jones go. I don't. I will never expect him to be a regular starter. He'll never be in my best 11, but more than happy to have Curtis Jones as a squad player at Liverpool, and there will be plenty of minutes there for him. But it seems like something's not adding up here. Either he's wanting assurances that Liverpool or Areola can't give him, or this is all a bit of a dance to get him a better deal. So let's see how it pans out. But, from what we're reading, there are reports that say that Liverpool are willing to lose him for a free in a year's time if they don't get the fee they're happy with this summer. Honestly, Newcastle's name being bandied around is encouraging, especially after Bunos, said Abdullah. It is, mate. It's I'm starting to feel bad for Newcastle fans a little bit. I have to say, it's like every day they must wake up, open up their phones, look at whoever they get their news from, and start thinking, "Oh shit, here we go again." Tonali, Guimaraes, they lost out on Munoz. It's just never ending for them. And there's already been talk that they could be looking to sell Nick Voltmata as well. Atletico Madrid had been rumoured to be interested in him. Has anybody looked into the SCR, SSR thing as PSR is being retired? I haven't fully looked into it, mate. No. I'm not going to lie. When I go in to look at stuff like that, my eyes just glaze over and it just becomes boring as fuck, It's tough, yeah. We're football fans. We shouldn't have to be accountants, sports scientists, nutritionists. What's that, Craig? You're definitely not a nutritionist. All right, calm down. Let me make the fat jokes. But Craig, you did make that joke. Fair enough, I did. Who are you arguing with? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know where this is going, by the way, so let's just jump back into the chat. What do you think about Josh Akpom as a right back and a centre back? So, is he still at Chelsea? I can't remember, to be honest with you. There's been a few pieces to say keep an eye on Chelsea's defenders because with their financial situation, they may have to make a sale or two. Whether that's Liverpool maybe revisiting Levi Colwill or something, I'm not sure. We're not getting Alex Scott. He's 80 million quid. I don't think anybody's going to pay 80 million quid for him. Now, I read a piece that said Marco Rosa has already told Bournemouth that there's no way he wants to sell Alex Scott. So let's wait and see. But yeah, I agree. He's not worth 80 million quid as much as he is a good player. I've seen rumours about Andres from Stuttgart. I haven't got a clue, mate. I couldn't add anything to that one for you. Again, what if we call up a few of our academy players just for the homegrown quota like we once did with Quansah and Stevenson? But we don't need to, Abdullah, because they're exempt from it. So they can always be in the squad anyway. So, we can access those players anytime. They don't have to be listed. If they're in the academy, they don't have to be put down as the homegrown quota. They can just be called up. It's the B list for UEFA. I can't remember what it's called in the Prem. Simon said, do you think we will achieve the same squad depth as Arsenal in this summer's window? Honestly, no, I don't. Because, again, it's very difficult to look at how I don't say balance it out because that's not the right phrase, but I don't see us generating a whole lot from sales this summer. So I don't think we're going to be able to build out the squad depth as much as maybe some of us would like to. But what I would say is, and I'm going to say this again, I think that squad depth is a huge part of why Arsenal won the Premier League last year. And again, that's not a knock, that's a compliment to their squad building. That's what we should be aiming for, that level of depth. Definitely not because we're signing big name players like Yan Diomande. Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I know there will be some, I don't want to call them bargain basement signings, but look at the first signing. That's probably a good example. Our first signing, Victor Munoz, 40 million quid. That's very reasonable in this day and age for a Spanish international who has came through the academies of Barca and Real Madrid, who has played in La Liga. That's a very reasonable fee. If Liverpool were to go out and sign Ratu, the Rayo Vallecano and Romanian right back, that again would be about 25 million euro there or thereabouts, so not a huge fee. If we're talking about the left side, a story we discussed the other day, and to be fair, I haven't seen much more on this since, but there was a suggestion in Spain that Andoni Areola was looking at Fran Garcia of Real Madrid as a possible left-back option. And the talking point there, I believe, was a journalist that was on with Redmen, said maybe 8 to 10 million quid. So, there could be ways like that Liverpool could do clever business, but not earth-shatteringly exciting business. We could do with a goalkeeper with Alisson only having a year left too. I think it's a bit of early to make this prediction, but I actually think this could sound crazy, by the way, but I actually think higher of Armin Petchy than I do of Georgi Marmadashvili. And I'm wondering, do you send Petchy on loan again for the year, get him some good experience, and then see if he's ready to step up to the number 2 shirt? Because he really does have a lot of potential. And I don't think we should rule out the idea of possibly extending Alisson Becker. Like, if Alisson doesn't pick up as many injuries this year, I'd like to think that it's a situation that Liverpool at least revisit, because he's a keeper. He can easily play. What is he now? 33, 34? He can easily play for another 2-3 years at the top level. David said, hey Craig, with Norway resting their first team tonight, hopefully we can beat Ivory Coast next week and wrap up the deal as well. I was surprised to some extent to see Norway rest so many players, but then again, it could be a very clever move for later in the competition. It was an exciting fixture, and then I looked at the two teams and I thought, okay, France have gone really strong, Norway not so much, but let's wait and see. There are some very interesting games coming up in the World Cup, particularly with the way the knockout stage is shaping up. Ben said, 34 in October, Alisson could play another 3 years easy. Exactly. The only concern I would have with Alisson is the injuries. Goalkeepers can play 37, 38, 39. And Alisson, he still has it. You can see it even in his performances with Brazil at the World Cup. He still has it. You look at Manuel Neuer, though, and I don't think we can still say the same about Neuer. He definitely looks like his reputation is keeping him in that German team at the minute. Rook said, Kamara with a couple of assists. He needs to be our number 1 target for midfield. Remember to spread love and positivity, everybody. Yes on that message, mate. Love that. I honestly don't know the midfield target. I've been honest about this for a few weeks now. I have no idea who Liverpool's main target is. BOUADDI, there's a little bit more coming out about, but I think this could be a later in the window type deal for Liverpool in the midfield area. Now, I could be wrong. Could wake up tomorrow, Liverpool could have made a bid for somebody, but I just don't have anything on that one. The club is choosing quality over quantity with spending big money, and with the grueling season in Premier League and other competitions, I think quantity is more important. I think Liverpool would be aware of that meme guy. Like, we made that mistake last year, so they're not, but at least you'd hope they're not likely to repeat the same mistake again this season. But we have opportunities with the likes of Harvey Elliott. He is still a Liverpool player. Yes, he has 1 year to go on his contract, but I would say give Elliott a new deal, use him this season, and if after year 1 it isn't working out, but at least you could still receive a transfer fee and move him on. And I'm sure that he would work out, because I'd very much back that Dani Iraola would be able to bring Harvey on and make him the valuable squad player that we all thought he could be. At least we're excited to see some high intensity rather than sideways and backwards playing with defence. Yeah. It tells you a lot that a lot of us are really excited even about pre-season and seeing the young lads with Dani Iraola and seeing, which ones are going to make that breakthrough, which ones are going to stick themselves in the manager's mind. It's going to be a fascinating pre-season. Jay, how are we, sir? Said, good feeling, BOUADDI has the talent but not the physicality for the Premier League. Echoes of Arsenal's Guendouzi a while back. It's really tall. Excuse me, Jay. It's really tough, mate, isn't it, to read an 18-year-old like that and say yes one way or the other. All I can say, mate, is I'm fairly late to the hype train on BOUADDI, but what I have seen of him, he looks very composed. I don't think the hustle and bustle of the physicality of the Premier League will overawe him, but I get it. Like, this is an area of the pitch particularly where I can understand certain managers like Jose Mourinho maybe wanting experience in that role. Sometimes, though, they're just good enough, and BOUADDI, certainly seems to have a lot of positive attributes. And if the price tag of about 60 million euro is true, could be a bargain for somebody. But I do get where you're coming from, Jay. I absolutely do. Jaden. Hey Craig, happy belated birthday to Mrs. Houlden. Thank you, mate. Yes, it was my wife's birthday yesterday, and she still looks fabulous, as she always does. But yeah, we're getting older. We're getting older. But I love this. I love this, Jaden, because there's 3 months where she's technically a year older than me. And then I have those 3 months that I just give her absolute banter. And I mean, serious banter for 3 months. And then I get to be the same age as again. Robert said, totally disagree. Quality is better than quantity. Seen this before under certain managers. Didn't work out. You need a head wobble with that statement. I think what I would say to you is, Robert, they don't need to be mutually exclusive. There is a way to have both. Like, we are Liverpool Football Club. And I was only looking at the revenues that are expected for next season earlier on. And they're talking about, you know, huge sums of money Liverpool generating again over the next year. So there shouldn't be a need to have the debate. We should be able to go out there and get both. But it's just a case of, with this summer being a bit of a condensed window because of the World Cup, maybe we won't get it all done. I'm also really intrigued to find out about this Richard Hughes Al Hilal, Richard Hughes Saudi stuff. Like, lots of speculation that after the transfer window, he's going to agree a deal to go to Saudi. But I've not really heard it from anyone who I would hang my hat on their opinion just yet. Anyone else think that 75 million euro for Gonzalo Ramos to AC Milan is wild money for him, or is that just me? It's a tough one because I watched him a bit when he was at Benfica. Looked like a much better player. Gone into PSG, I don't know if it's a system thing, you know, because the way that they play, the centre forward isn't as heavily involved as the wide players. So I find it, anyway, personally difficult to get a read on it. But it does, like, if I always try and say, if Liverpool paid this, would I be happy? I wouldn't, no. I would certainly have wanted him about £40 million if Liverpool were to have a look at him, because he is still unproven, in my opinion. But there's something about him, though. There is something there. Like, he will either absolutely tear it up at AC Milan or he'll shit the bed. But I have a hint he might do well. But I still agree with you on the price. I think it's too much. Is it only Leipzig holding the deal? 150 million for plus 150 million for Elliott. Yes, it's Leipzig holding up the deal. Liverpool would do the deal tomorrow if Leipzig would just come to the table, and like, what they haven't even done yet is give a number. So it's very difficult when you're negotiating and the other side isn't giving a number. Like, if I wanted to buy your car off you and I came to your house and I was looking at around the car and I thought, yeah, it's nice, I like it, drives well. How much do you want for it? Make me an offer. You know, it's very difficult if you don't know what the other person wants for it. Now, there's been lots of speculation in the media about numbers, 120 million euro, 130 million euro, 150 million euro, but there's been no communication to Liverpool over a number that would get it done. And that's what's been part of the problem, because Liverpool don't want to just keep throwing numbers and numbers and numbers. They want to try and move quickly, and so they don't have this back and forth of bids. It just looks messy. Aaron said, we seem to be linked with a lot of young players in this window. Could we be on the edge of a major youth movement at Liverpool? I just think we're refreshing the squad, mate. And, you know, I've said this on a few occasions, but with the way Andoni Iraola plays, kind of a la the way Jurgen played, you're going to need young legs, and you're going to need lots of bodies as well, because rotation is going to be important. So youth is going to give us much more of an advantage in that one than if we had players 30, 31, 32. But I don't like to use the phrase water carriers because I think that's disrespectful, but we do need legs in the middle of the park. That's one thing I think we do. We need legs. We've got Dominic Szoboszlai, who's an incredible engine, but we need somebody, a box-to-box player as well in there, as well as somebody a bit deeper lying. I think one deeper lying player would be fine if Gravenberch could kind of flirt between the two. But like I've said many times, once we see Andoni Iraola's Liverpool play a few times, we'll get a better understanding of what type of attributes may be required of the midfielder. We're all looking at his time at Bournemouth and thinking it'll be the exact same, but with a step up in level, maybe he'll ask a little bit more tactical awareness from some of his midfielders. Ben said, a small part of me thinks Jurgen is forcing RB to stall just to get payback on Edwards. I haven't got a clue, mate. I haven't got a clue. I wouldn't want to pretend to know one way or the other. We do have to remember he is an employee of Red Bull at this point. We think of him obviously as a hero, and rightly so. But at this particular moment in time, Jurgen's an employee of Red Bull, so it's in his interest to make sure that he does the best work for them. My gifted membership runs out tomorrow. A thank you to whoever gifted it to me. Craig, would you put a bid in for Bruno Guimaraes or Tonali? I'd prefer Tonali over Guimaraes, personally, but I wouldn't be upset with either. I find it very funny that he's willing to go to Spurs. Is it just the Roberto De Zerbi thing, or is the project at Newcastle that bad that players are just wanting out? But yeah, look, Arsenal going up with a second bid, I believe, for Bruno Guimaraes. It looks like there's certainly an agreement on terms with Tonali and Spurs. I think it was, 240 grand a week, something like that. Yeah, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't. They're both decent holding midfielders, but I think there's better value in the market. And that's where it comes back to the conversation we had earlier on. Liverpool will have to probably sacrifice somewhere. And I think you can get value in central midfield if you look to Ligue 1 and places like that versus trying to buy like Manchester City. Look, I'm sure that Elliot Anderson will do very well for Manchester City, but that price is an absolute piss take. And some of these deals just muddy the waters. And I know people will say, hang on, you paid 125 million quid for Alexander Isak. Fair enough, but there isn't a Liverpool fan that won't tell you that we overpaid. We knew we were overpaying, but that's what it took. And maybe Man City feel the same. Every time Spurs look like a threat, they end up flopping. When will they stop being Spursy? I don't know, they're putting together a fairly decent transfer window so far. The Lewis family, I think, have thrown another 100 million in there from what I read over the last couple of days. Right, how are we? Maybe I sound egotistic, but I would do one more approach to Leipzig, take it or leave it. I would not give Elliot. The lad is a very good squad player. So the issue with Elliot is, again, 1 year to go on his contract. And that's what makes the decision to allow that deal for Villa to happen even more egregious. Because now Liverpool have a player whose value has gone down for two reasons. One, he didn't play much football. And two, he's now contractually only got 1 year to go at Liverpool. I've seen a couple of reports about Liverpool looking to send Bajcetic out on loan. But even at that would have to be a new deal before you do that, because his contract is up. I love Harvey Elliott, and I just don't see any sense in getting rid of a player who knows what the Premier League is about, who can fill in multiple positions, and who wants to play for Liverpool. I think this should be a no-brainer to keep him at the club, especially with a new coach. I'm really excited to see Joshua Abe. Seems there's extremely high hopes for him. Hopefully he can impress Iriola. Hopefully Neoni can impress him as well. Well, I think Joshua Abe is going on pre-season tour to the United States, from what I was reading today anyway, which is really positive for him. I mean, a few months ago I would have been convinced we're losing him, but really happy that he's staying at Liverpool. I think it's best for his development as well. So let's talk Curtis Jones for a minute, because a report came in earlier on, credit Anfield sector for this post, and it was Tom Colomos who they credited with the story, but they said Nottingham Forest are thought to be considering Curtis Jones. Now, one thing we do know here about Nottingham Forest is they're now flush with cash, because they've just sold or about to sell Elliot Anderson. So I could absolutely see a world where Marinakis looks at Curtis Jones and thinks, could be an option there, could be some value there. And I think you would have far better chance to get proper money. You know, not the Mickey Mouse offers that were coming in from Inter Milan. Something close to a fair valuation for Curtis Jones with 1 year to go. Right, let's check our poll on Kounde. So we said, would you take Jules Kounde at Liverpool? 61% of the people that voted said yes. Yeah, I would take him. I would. But I still prefer Schlotterbeck, like I've said. In different sides, I know one's right-sided, one's left-sided, but I'm looking to the future, and I'm looking to a time where Virgil isn't going to be here, and I think Schlotterbeck could be that defensive leader. I can't be the only one who's, when they've thought about Jules Kounde in the Premier League, he always felt to me like he would be a Chelsea player. He just kind of stands out as a Chelsea player. Inter must stop with the goofy Mickey Mouse offers. I think Liverpool aren't even listening anymore. I think that at this moment in time, that's dead in the water from what I can gather. And Liverpool are right, because they're already going to get a knockdown fee for him because of his contractual situation. And I think that the number they were quoting Inter Milan was more than fair. It's just Inter Milan cheaping out, and Liverpool just aren't going to put up with it. You either pay the number or we keep them, and I truly believe that. Don't think Jones will go to Forest if he leaves. If he doesn't leave Liverpool this season, he'll be on a free to Inter next season. Maybe. That could absolutely happen. And he could sign that agreement with Inter Milan in January. Welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my friend. Rafa, appreciate you. Rafa Fire, thank you, bro. The cheaping out cost them Palestra. Absolutely, Simon. Yep, it really did. They were nickel and diamond over €5 million. And then Chelsea came in, bang, and offered wages that Inter Milan couldn't offer. It is crazy, though, to think that this Gonzalo Ramos deal to AC Milan, if I'm not wrong, that's a Serie A record for a buying club, which is, feels nuts that it's that low for a Serie A record. The market is gone if Ramos is 74 million. I think that's euro, though. But still seems a high number. And like we were saying at the very start, my concern with that Gonzalo Ramos thing is that's starting to free up positions now for PSG in their attacking line. And let's see where they turn their attention to. So let's talk Bradley BARCOLA here for a sec. Again, crediting David Lynch and Born Red LFC. He said, it's a deal for Bradley BARCOLA. Feels tied to Gakpo now for me more than Diomande. Similar to Gakpo, I think, keep an eye on that one. It's an interesting situation, I would say. Again, I find myself in agreement with David Lynch on this one. We've been kind of intimating that here on the channel for a while. It does feel, as soon as Romano said that it isn't one or the other for Liverpool, that they're two separate interests for Diomande and BARCOLA, I don't think there's any of us who didn't think, okay, well, if Gakpo gets sold, surely that's where Liverpool make the play for BARCOLA. And look, let me just ask this. Is there anybody in the chat who would keep Gakpo over selling him and trying to get BARCOLA? Genuinely, is there anybody that would think the right move would be to keep Gakpo? Because he is Premier League proven to an extent. He's doing well at the World Cup. He is versatile. He can play poorly through the centre. He can play okay on the left. He can play on the right, I guess, as long as, he understands that he has to turn both ways. For me, look, I'd be buzzing if we got BARCOLA to replace Gakpo. I think it would be an incredible bit of business, but I don't think Liverpool will sell Cody unless they know they have a really, really good quality replacement. But I wonder, could somebody else be the player? Like, if it isn't BARCOLA, and let's say Spurs came in with an offer for Gakpo, I wonder, would there be somebody else then from the midfield, from the wingers that we've been talking about recently that Liverpool could maybe move down the list and look at if BARCOLA wasn't available? So Fernandez Pardo, I need your help here. What side has he played on more for Lille? Because I don't really pay attention to French football all that much, so I don't really know much about Fernandez Pardo and exactly which side he operates on more. Jay Burks, how are you, bro? Said, I genuinely wonder who our midfield targets are. Ben Jacob said, Liverpool asked about Wharton months ago, but are not advancing. Liverpool have other targets in mind. So again, completely agree with Mr. Jacobs on Liverpool not pushing on with the Wharton stuff, which I think has surprised many of us. That felt like the obvious one for Liverpool. But maybe Andoni Iraola has other targets in mind. Maybe he's had a conversation with Richard Hughes. Now, I haven't got a clue who the other targets could be. I could run through a list of players we've been linked with, but I don't have any information that I can give you on who the midfield option could be. PSG need a Somerville type on the bench and he'll happily be there. BARCOLA has a higher ceiling. Alvarez will go to PSG. Dembele is 29, 2 years. Alvarez only wants Barcelona. That's it. You know, PSG are interested in him, but he's let it be known it's Barcelona. He wants that move. And I think he'll get it eventually. The money being offered for Gakpo is similar to Doku's value. Anybody who rejects that needs to reserve a padded room with a white jacket. Yeah, look, I could understand Liverpool rejecting it if they didn't think they could get another player in that position. That I could totally understand. But I couldn't put up the argument to say that there wouldn't be a better option that we could do. Yeah, I agree. If you got 60, 65 million quid, I'd certainly be looking around. Michael Dunstan said, Gakpo, sell, we can get better and we need somebody that can run past outside and inside. Yeah, it's the reason I was asking about Fernandez Pardo is, if you look at Munoz, he can play right across the front three. And with Rio going to be the guy on the left side, maybe versatility is going to be key here for the attackers that we bring in. Because, of course, Liverpool aren't going to want to have somebody that is going to be benching Rio in a year or two's time. So getting that mix will be important. I think there was something on this, yeah. So this is stats from Opta. It said Opta records confirm that Rio Ngamoa is the most heavily used Liverpool player starting a season under the age of 18 since Raheem Sterling in 2012-2013, 1,543 minutes, and Michael Owen in 1997-98 with 1,645 minutes. Which is an interesting stat, I suppose. Now, I can't lie. I still would have liked to have seen more of Rio last season. There are times where we were just so frustratingly one-paced. I would have loved to have seen Rio more. Itachi, always lovely to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm waiting for Monday when the temperature drops here in Germany. I hate it. Liverpool have to get Diomande done ASAP. It hasn't been too bad here in Ireland. Like yesterday was a tough one. Like that was pretty warm for us. And I think everybody in our house struggled to sleep, even with fans on last night. But today feels a lot more manageable. I know some of the temperatures, like Connor's over in Spain, and he's been melting over there, like absolutely boiling. I think temperature's 40 degrees upwards. The only thing that annoys me about the good weather is you can't get a burger bun for God nor man, or even a floury bap with the good weather, because barbecue central. Rio's class for a young, great player, top future. Can't wait for next season with a more attacking Liverpool, said Everyone's Football. Yeah, same mate. I'm buzzing. Can't wait. I'm really excited for the pre-season window in general, in general. It's almost a bonus for Iraola that some of the senior players won't be there, because this way he can have a good look at the younger age players and not really have any pressure on his shoulders. You know, we can make team selections for those pre-season games over in the United States without anybody kind of pissing and moaning about it, because he will only have a certain amount of players available to him. And I can't wait to see which youngsters step up and make the breakthrough. I wonder what Slot is up to nowadays. So I can't be the only one that noticed this. In the Norway-France game at half-time, Opus, Life is Life, start playing in the stadium, and I couldn't help but have a little chuckle, and I posted into the Discord. Chuckle? What the fuck's a chuckle? Is it a fat chuckle? I don't know, it's a chuckle. I couldn't help but have a little chuckle at that song, and I posted into the Discord to go, oh, Arne Slot's song blaring around there. Chuggle. I'm actually going to use that word again. I like chuggle. Chuggle works. How much does aircon cost in the UK? I'm from the UK but live in the US now, sitting here enjoying 69 temp. I don't know, but I can't use aircon. Aircon messes with my sinuses and stuff, so when we're on holidays, you know, I tend to tend to try and keep it to a minimum, so it's not something I imagine I'll ever be buying here in Ireland either for the 4 or 5 good days a year that we have. So I couldn't tell you what it costs. Mr. Asantino, absolute legend, bro. Gifting 5 Anfield Agenda memberships. Thank you, sir. Itachi said, but Craig, do we sign Diomande? I think we do. I think we do, bro. I know what you're hinting at there. You want a poll, and I am a man of my word. I did promise the daily Diomande poll, much like the daily Isak poll, and the reason is, Itachi, because it fucking worked, didn't it? It worked. We did the poll every day. We got the fella. So now let's ask it again. So, will Liverpool sign Diomande? Yes or no? Now, by taking part in this poll, you're adding to the probability of Liverpool signing him. So, well into all of you, make sure you vote on it. Because the more yeses we get, somehow that will make him come. In what sense, though, Craig, did you mean come? Did you mean like join, or did you mean excitable? Honorary will break the bank poll. Hey Craig, Fernandez Pardo played this season centre forward 17 times, left 9 times, right 3. Thank you, David. That's very helpful, my man. So that could be a good shout then. Like if Liverpool, okay, would you sell Gakpo for him? Remind me for that next poll. Would you sell Gakpo? Or maybe you can just give me a thumbs up. That's an easy one. Would you sell Cody Gakpo? Would you sell Cody Gakpo to sign Fernandez Pardo? Would you accept that one if BARCOLA wasn't available? Give me a thumbs up if it's a yes, a thumbs down no if you keep Gakpo. How about a Gakpo out for BARCOLA poll? I think we did it the other day and it was 80-something% yes. Craig, Jeremy Jacquet signed on July 1st. It's only a couple of days away. Yeah, looking forward to it. He officially becomes a Liverpool player. I think he was over at Clairefontaine in the French kit doing a bit of work over there, I believe. Yes, very versatile player, said David Cornwell. Lewis said no. Interesting. I'd sell Gakpo to buy a vending machine for the lad, said Ben Palmer. A couple of other thumbs down as well. Russian Honey Badger said no. Johnson said no, or said yes, excuse me. James Clark said no. Jay Axel said no. I don't know enough about Fernandez Pardo to have an opinion on this one myself. You know, speaking to other people who've watched a lot more of him, they think he has a really high potential. So I'm going to have to sit this one out because I'm ignorant to his levels. Craig should have added the option, depends on the price, because that's where most people will sit. No, I don't like giving people a get out of jail card. God damn it, I want yeses or no's. No, it's just, don't really take this poll too seriously. It's more, we did this last summer with Isak. It kind of became a bit of a running joke, and then we signed him by the end of the window. And look, wasn't that just a glorious success as well? Do you remember the 40 goals he scored for us last season? Oh, tell me your favourite. If only. Hopefully we're sitting here saying that next summer. I know next to nothing about Pardo. You're not on your own there, Ben. I'm right there with you as well, my man. Itachi said, Craig, if he joins us, you have to learn how to write his name correctly, mate. It's Diomande. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, the amount you wouldn't fucking believe. Like, I must have done 15 thumbnails with his name incorrectly spelled at this point. Even on my phone now, it auto-corrects to Diomande. Have I really been spelling this name wrong the whole time? Look, it doesn't surprise me because I'm an idiot and I've said this many times, but that is a deal. That's crazy. Can't disrespect Gakpo like that. Who's Fernandez Pardo? Never heard of him. I guarantee you will have heard of him within 18 months. That is fucking nuts on Diomande, by the way. Jesus, you're right. Oh my God. Lads, I've been putting this lad on thumbnails and... Oh, Connor needs to sack me when he gets home, honestly. That is crazy. And my phone's even been auto-correcting it these days to Diomande as well, D-I-A. Jesus Christ, lads. Yeah, there you go. You learned something new today. Pin the tail on the idiot here. That's nuts. Thank you for that one, Attach Me. Attach Me. Oh my days. I can't talk today. Attach Me. I can't talk. Between Attach Me, Diomande, and what was the other one I said? Chuggle. Earlier on I said a chuckle. This heat's obviously doing something to me. I can't speak. I can't speak! Somebody tell us a joke or something to cheer me up here. Would you take Ethan Nwaneri as a right wing centre attacking midfield back up to Verts Diomande? Who's this Diomande lad you're talking about? Is he like Diamande? No, I don't want Nwaneri. Although there was a story linking us to him. Just imagine I was I could have got that lad's name on a jersey from my son and I still would have spelled it wrong. Oh my days. Genuinely, like if Diomande signed, I would have went and got my son a shirt. And I probably would have had the young lad going into school with everybody going, look at this gobshite, doesn't even, his dad's so cheap, he's obviously gotten the fake one from a really bad place that sells fake jerseys because they spelled the name wrong. Anyway. We need to sign McTominay as our CDM. So, on McTominay, I feel like he had a poorer World Cup than I was expecting from, the Serie A MVP from the season before. I thought he was going to have a much bigger impact at the World Cup for Scotland than he had. Jaden, I can't wait for Diomande on a plane vid like Flo. Yeah, I love them videos, the signing day vlogs. Bricktop said somebody pointed that out in a comment a few days ago. Yeah, but I don't see every comment, mate. I try my best to read as many of them as I can, but oh my days. Well, look, lesson learned on this one. Because I'm sure Diomande will be showing up on multiple thumbnails over the next few weeks. So maybe that's fucking up the algorithm as well for YouTube. Maybe people are now searching Diomande the way I spell it and they're like, oh, there's not much news today. Oh, well, we're speaking about butchering pronunciations. Is there many Irish people in the chat? If there's many Irish people in the chat, you'll know what I'm talking about here. Dara Maloney on RTE's commentary for the Norway-France game or any France game. Please, Dara, please, for the love of God, stop calling him Chow Mein. He's not a fucking beef chow mein. Stop calling him Chow Mein. It's wound me up every time he says it on Irish television. It winds me up. Here he is, lovely ball in there to Chow Mein, and I'm thinking, all right, mate, he's not a special. He's not a house special. Like, calm down. Remember, lads, Diamandes are forever. Craig, do you watch GAA? I don't really know. No, I don't. I'm a bit of a glory. I'll tune in for the All-Ireland semis and finals, but no, I don't really watch. The man from Del Monte, he say yes. Oh, we're showing our age here, Michael. We're showing our age. I remember, do you know what? That's really weird. I remember the very first time I ever seen a Man from Del Monte ad when I was a child. And I remember just being fascinated by it. I was like, who is this man? And why is he saying yes? He seems to fucking love orange juice. Or hearing Stevie Nicol try to say Soboslai. Oh, I fully got the Google Translate out when we were signing Soboslai. Myself, my wife and Connor were sitting in the living room one day, all hearing it go, Soboslai, Soboslai. Yeah, so I did my groundwork for that one. Craig, who would you rather succeed, Verts or Isak? Verts, because we'd have him longer. And I don't know, I never had the same expectation with Isak that I had with Verts. With Verts, I genuinely think he can win a Ballon d'Or. But with Isak, I can understand why Liverpool wanted him, but he was never somebody that I was, I wouldn't have been at all upset if we didn't sign him. But I also understand why we did sign him. J Bob said, Craig, what's more likely to happen? Arsenal win the Champions League or this World Cup we see a new champion, aka Portugal or the Netherlands. Arsenal to win the Champions League, I think. I think it's very difficult to look past France at this moment. They just look like they have strength and depth. Spain can come good and usually figure it out as the tournaments go on. Don't know what to expect as the outside shout. I mean, there's some interesting games. Morocco, Netherlands, that could be a belter of a game as well. Although is it a mathematician? Somebody who's predicted the last 2 World Cups said that the Netherlands were going to win it based off the algorithm that they've had or something. Matthew said, I can't wait to see Kirkes cook this season under Iraola. Yeah, I think it's going to... I bet you he was buzzing when he found out Iraola was coming in. I really do. Like, I'm not trying to knock Slot or anything. Those days are behind us. But yeah, I'd say he was buzzing. Because he knows that's a manager that rates him. I really hope Iraola cements Vert's role in the centre of his 4-2-3-1 right behind Isak. Again, it's going to be fascinating to see how he utilises him, because even in the role for Germany, he's not really operating too much on the left. I've seen him drift in central quite a bit. I think if we're allowing anybody a free role in our squad, I think it should be Verts. Allow him to find those pockets of space. Ironhead Tourist, or Ironhead 460 said, Craig, I want to get a kit of my favourite player from every year from the side I was born. Also, keep up the great work. Lots of love. Thank you, man. That's a really cool idea. That's a really cool idea. It might be a costly idea, but it's a really cool idea. I bought myself a signed photo a few months ago of one of my favourite childhood players, but not many people probably know too much about him. That was Jean-Pierre Papin. He played for Marseille, French national team. I just had this mad fascination with him when I was a kid. I had a jersey with his number on the back of it. And I seen a signed picture of his on the collector's corner a while back and said, I have to have it. Shine bright like a diamond. Don't worry, Itachi. I'll teach you how to spell it correctly sooner or later, bro. You know, but I'm glad you seen the obvious mistake I made just to correct it, you know. Wirtz did say in an interview that he plays better with pacey wingers. Look, I think there'll be a couple of people who benefit, or maybe even more than a couple. Isak is absolutely going to benefit from us having proper wingers with pace who can put in crosses across the front of that 6-yard box. So he's going to benefit from them, and yes, Wirtz as well. Why don't you make a channel to do World Cup watch-alongs? I'm not the same person, you know, and that's what I figured out. When I don't do Liverpool things, or when I don't do something that I'm emotionally invested in, they're not the same watch-alongs. So I'd just be doing it as a cash grab, and I decided not to do it because I respect you too much to do that. You know, because I don't have a vested interest in the World Cup as Ireland aren't there. I'm not the biggest fan of international football anyway, so it would have just been a cash grab. So I opted against doing any of the World Cup games. Can you put a picture of Harvey the dog in the background? No, probably not. I can put him on the table maybe, but I don't think I'd be able to put him on the wall. Oh, I did get my Mo Salah shirt today. I wanted to show you guys actually. A sec. Let me just make this bigger for you. What do we think of that bad boy? That finally arrived today. Bought it directly from the club. There are 442 of them for the 442 appearances Mohamed Salah made for Liverpool. I think mine's number 237 or something like that. But yeah, that arrived today, and I have to say it's really, really nice. Really, really happy with it. So yeah, that'll be going up in the Houlden household. But I hate Salah, right? According to some people, you know, wasn't a fan. I never understood that. I always loved Salah, but remind me, what's with Sesame Street featuring here? It's not Sesame Street, it's just Elmo. It's a long story, but my wife's an Elmo freak, And then there was a lovely moment when we were over in Florida on holidays. We were in Busch Gardens. My kid was really young. He went over to get a picture with Elmo, and there was loads of noise. And my son has autism, and he was very noise sensitive at that point. So he put his hands over his ears, and then Elmo did the very same thing, and it made my son feel relaxed. And that was the moment that I became an Elmo fan. So we always have something Elmo in the background as kind of a reminder of that lovely moment for me on a personal level. Hey Craig, what do you think about Usyk giving up all his belts? Um, it's interesting, but I'm more intrigued to see who his last fight is going to be, because he said he's going to have one more fight. So I'm intrigued to see who that is going to be. And then with the belts now fragmented, it'll be interesting to see who fights Caballel, if Moses Atama will get a shot. I'm intrigued to see how it all shapes up, but it was an interesting one. I'd seen, what's his name? The guy from the WBC, Suleiman, I'd seen him saying that he only found out about it when Usyk posted that he didn't even get a phone call from him. But look, it must be a pain in the arse paying all them sanctioning fees as well. Every time you want to fight and you've got all those belts, you've got to pay all the sanctioning fees. Craig, silly question, but which player right now in United do you think would fit Liverpool? Probably in Mbuemo, excuse me. I've always felt he would have been a good fit at Liverpool. So yeah, probably him. After the Gerrard era, Salah was our great, will be missed and cherished like Gerrard. I don't think I'll ever hold him in the same esteem as Gerrard. I'm not going to lie. Gerrard to me was like a superhero. And because he was Scouse, it had that extra bit. I don't think anybody will come to the levels of Gerrard and Fowler for me. They're the two that are above everybody else for me. I didn't get to see Kenny play, so I don't really have memories of Kenny the football player, but I have memories of Kenny the manager, all right. Do you think Conor McGregor will win his first fight back in the UFC? I haven't got a clue. Yeah, I haven't even been paying attention to McGregor's build-up or his training. I haven't got a clue. Barry, how are you, sir? With news, Milan have agreed the deal. There's been news in the media that PSG stepping up their interest regarding Diomande. Keep up the great work. Liverpool are well aware of all of that, and Liverpool are, how do I say it? I don't want to overcommit to say something because people love to remind me about that. I think I'm still relaxed about it, and people that I speak to are still relaxed about it, because I really do think the player appreciates the work Liverpool have put in. The fact that Liverpool have made it abundantly clear he is the number one target, he's the one that they want. The only thing that could maybe make this go sideways is if we woke up tomorrow and seen the PSG bid 150 million euro or something like that. But I don't see that happening, because they've already had a lot of reports come out from the French side to say that they just don't like the price that's being asked. So they're staying clear of it. I haven't really kept tabs of their interest in Akliouche from Monaco, though. That was one of the players that had been strongly linked with Paris Saint-Germain. Anthony said, "Hi Craig, what are your expectations for Liverpool this season under Iraola? Solid top four finish and a few cup runs would do nicely." Well, myself and Lewis actually debated this on a video recently. Exactly as you've said. Couldn't agree with you more, mate. Exactly as you've said. I'm expecting us to finish in the Champions League spots. So, top four, maybe top five if we get a fifth place next season. But I'd rather us be in that top four. And then, I expect some inconsistencies at the start of the season. The same as I would have given time for Slot at the start of his era, but that went very well. So I expect inconsistencies, but I do hope that when you come to the second half of the season, that those inconsistencies have been ironed out a little bit, and that Liverpool are then ready to strike and push on in one of the domestic competitions or even in the Champions League. So yeah, I think I'm right with you, mate. A decent Premier League showing for year one, and then bang, try to get something at the tail end of the season. Make sure you're still in the FA Cup, go deep in the League Cup, and who knows, in the Champions League. I mean, PSG are a good example that you don't have to get into the top 8 of the Champions League. It's not a disaster if you don't. Any news on the right back situation? It feels more important than wingers. The chatter has been mainly about Ratu, the guy from Rayo Vallecano. That's been the only real bona fide right back I've seen Liverpool constantly linked to. And I think that one could be doable. But we're going to have to wait and see. Like, if Jules Kounde and that gathers pace and there is something to that story, then Jules Kounde could give us an option to cover both of those positions. So that's certainly worth keeping an eye on. LFC Sapinen said, PSG, in my opinion, will go for Krupi and Akliouche. Yeah, I've seen a couple of things along those lines as well. You could very well be right. So I have a question for you, actually. Rayan, did you guys watch him for Brazil against Scotland? And what did you think? He looked very, very strong, very experienced, and very well-rounded for a 19-year-old winger. Really was impressed by his performance and can see why, Bournemouth made sure that there was a big release clause in his deal when they signed him. Tobias said, I kind of like the 100 minutes concept. Wasn't sure at first, but kind of nice having a timer, actually. I do have some more things as the season goes on that we're going to add in to make it a bit more fun. But yeah, that was kind of my idea, that when people come in, they'll know how long's left. Or if somebody's scanning through, they'll have a reference point to go, when the clock said X amount, that's when he talked about this, something like that. JKB Thomas said, Fran Garcia, I feel, is a no-brainer for the price tag. I couldn't believe that one, mate, when I seen it. Now, fair play to Redmen and the journalists that they had on, because that's a very, very interesting bit of information to see he could be available for 8 to 10 million quid. Like, no-brainer. What is he, 26, 27? I think he's 26. Yeah, it would be... Because you could then sell Costas, even if you only got 5 to 7 million quid for him. That pretty much just covers you there for most of the Garcia fee. What would you rather win next season, Craig? The Champions League or the Premier League? So I'm always a bit of an outlier on this one. It's Champions League for me. Now look, we've had 2 Premier Leagues in the last few years, so that's great. But it's Champions League time, So I want a Champions League. That's my favourite competition. Most people want the bread and butter of the Premier League and want that trophy, but I just have this romance with the European Cup going all the way back to when I was a kid. As I said, watching that Jean-Pierre Papin, that Marseille team, the great AC Milan teams. Yeah, the European Cup. It just, because if we won a 7th, that just even pushes us out even further, as European royalty from the English side. I think Rayan will be second choice if we don't get Diomande. Well, there's been a couple of articles saying that it's a player that that Iriola is telling Liverpool to keep an eye on anyway. But I don't know much more other than that. So on our Diomande poll, spelled absolutely incorrectly, we asked, will Liverpool sign Diomande? Still time to get your vote in. If you haven't, excuse my stupid spelling. Itachi was kind enough to let me know that it's actually D-I-O, and you think I'd know that at this point. I just got news. Apparently Man City now best position to sign BOUADDI. No. There's just no... Like, if you're a BOUADDI and you see Man City coming in for you, and you see they've just dropped that money on Elliot Anderson, are you going to Man City? So I don't know where you got the news from, but it smells, sounds, and tastes a bit like bullshit to me. Unless they were going to loan him back somewhere for a few years, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Unless maybe they're going to sell the guy they brought in already. The guy they brought in from Benfica, was it? To come in and be Rodri's replacement, who, Rodri, I think everyone expects to go to Madrid, but maybe you're right, mate. Maybe I've just read this situation all wrong, but it just feels mad. I don't know how they could be favourites. That is, I don't know. That's a bit of a surprise. I'm not going to lie. 3 years ago, we lost to Atalanta in the Europa League. Oh, I remember, mate. I remember. Wow. That's crazy. I owe that gentleman an apology. Let me scroll back up to you, bro. Mohammed, sorry, mate. Seems like you were right. That one came out of nowhere for me. Wow. It's just, I don't know. That one, yeah, jeez, that flabbergasted me if that happened. What we're talking about Manchester City, by the way, are we ever going to see the end of these fucking charges? Like, it's 7 years. It's 7 years now. And it was supposed to be October, it was supposed to be Christmas, then it was supposed to be March, then it was supposed to be just before the end of the season, then it was supposed to be June. Are we ever going to hear about these charges? Because, again, they haven't been sanctioned yet. So they can keep going out there, throwing money, spending money. They might have a whiff, something's coming down the line, and they might want to get in early and get a lot of business done. Let me just read this one out. Keane sent it to me on WhatsApp. One sec. BOUADDI asking price is currently loosely 75 to 85 million euro. If Liverpool go down the BOUADDI route, much younger player, blah, 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 blah. Liverpool looked at Adam Wharton around 6 months ago. It's not that one. Manchester City is now the best team positioned to sign BOUADDI following the signing of Elliot Anderson and pending what happens with Rodri's future. Has that been posted by anybody credible? Because the journalist that credits ESPN with that post has 47,000 followers, and I don't know. Yeah, for me, I'm going to need a better source than that guy before I start losing my mind about it. I don't know, lads. Let me just ask you this. When's the last time an ESPN journalist really broke a Premier League story? I don't know. It feels a bit far-fetched to me personally, but let's wait and see. Just seeing Guimaraes inquiry apparently. So Arsenal are putting forward, I think, their second offer in for him. Liverpool's name has always been linked with Bruno Guimaraes, but there was a couple of pieces doing the rounds that said it may get revisited. But I've been honest about the midfield situation. I don't have anything on it. He's followed by Fabrizio. Oh no! Oh well, that means it has to be true because Fabrizio's never told a lie. No, he's never told a lie. Nobody was alive and then dead. Nobody shilled for any dictatorships or anything. No, we couldn't dare. If Fabrizio follows him, well, that's it then. It's case over. Job done. Don't need to do that, lads. He signed. 6-year deal, is it? I really don't get these Romano fanboys. I'll never understand it. I think of Fabrizio Romano in a very different way to a lot of people, and very strongly in a different way. So it's nice to see that he's taken a break from going into people's girlfriends' Instagrams and posting heartfelt eye emojis underneath. Was it Haaland's girlfriend or something? Yeah, I don't know. He just... Yeah, I better say nothing because he's a bit litigious, so I probably should just shut my mouth on that one. Aren't we interested in Malik Fofana from Lyon again? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Not a name for me, mate, that I could add anything to. But like I said, that means nothing other than I haven't heard anything about it. That was crazy, that heart emoji. I'd slap the fuck out of him if he put that on my girlfriend's Instagram. Honestly, I'm not even joking. He puts that in on a post from my girlfriend on the Instagram. He's getting a fucking slap the next time I see him. I thought that was extremely cringy. Hey Craig, just joined the stream after watching the World Cup with family. Why the Poland Diomande? Something to worry about? Yeah, Man City are signing him. They're signing him, Pele, Maradona, Johan Cruyff. They're also going in for BOUADDI. No, mate, there's nothing. We're just, it's almost like just a running joke. Actually, I probably should give a better context than that for you. Last year, if you remember, it was a joke. We kept putting in Isak, will we sign Isak, will we sign Isak? And eventually we signed him. So we're kind of just doing it to hope that we can have some good juju. Can't forget R9. Oh, I'm not forgetting him. I have an R9 shirt right there on my wall. I love me some R9. The proper Ronaldo, as I like to call him. Did you see Ronaldinho came out of retirement as well? I did, yeah. Was it Serie C team or something like that? Look, the world's a better place with Ronaldinho having a football at his feet. CM Kounde playing for France. We were linked to him in the past. Any interest in him these days? I don't know. Not that I'm aware of. I have to say, he did look good in that France midfield. But I don't know. Mason said we should have bought Elliot Anderson. Oh, mate, I agree with you 100%. 100%. But it's always been pretty clear that was going to be Manchester City's big move of this market. And they've been working away on that one for a long time. So it's why I never really threw him into the conversation when we were talking about Liverpool potentially signing players. I would have loved him, much like you. I think he is the best in that position that might come on the market this summer, but you know, the price tag is just crazy. Technically, that poll isn't 100% no, then we all need to invest in a good spell checker. Well, yes, Simon, technically correct. You know, but I was educated. I will now know how to spell his name moving forward, thankfully. Although, watch me make the same mistake the next time. So, on that one, actually, should we sign him? 81, or will we sign him? 81% said yes, and 19% said no. It's just the fall off in quality or star power, really, if you don't get him. And especially with everybody and their dog knowing that this is Liverpool's #1 transfer target for this summer. Film 13th, how are you, my friend? Said, Craig, I would like to see us move the ball around the box quick like City, overlapping fullbacks, putting in crosses, keeping possession. I think Scott would be good in that role. I wouldn't focus too much on the possession side of it, because Manchester City rest in possession, and that's a very specific thing. You're far more likely to see that coming from Alonso's Chelsea. With us, it's more a case of high press, as you said, fullbacks high up. More, I don't want to call it Gagan pressing again, but just work rate, relentless pressing, relentless energy, and smothering teams and not letting them out. You know, I think it's very tough to pigeonhole Manchester City into one particular style, but they do rest in possession. And Guardiola's always had this thing about wanting the ball back in 5 seconds if you lose it, or something along those lines. So with Liverpool and Iriola, I think we'll just see a return to something that we recognise more from the Klopp days compared to what we've seen under Arne. France versus Sweden in the round of 32. Well, that's grand. At least for now, Isak could be coming home then after that one. Are we interested in getting Bruno Guimaraes? So let me just read you all the news today from start to finish that I have. I do have some news bits coming up for a late video, but let me fly through these stories first. So, Team Talk have said Liverpool want to sign Alex Scott, but Bournemouth have informed all interested clubs that the midfielder is not for sale. Then there was a report from Graham Bailey that said intermediaries representing Bruno Guimaraes have opened exploratory talks with top teams offering his services to Liverpool, while sources confirm interest in the midfielder remains significant. From what we can understand, though, Arsenal are the ones really pushing there. Then we had the story about Rio. This piece from James Pearce in The Athletic said Liverpool are due to show Rio how much he means with an improved contract later this summer, which again shouldn't be a surprise to us. He absolutely deserves that. This piece though also said Kounde to capture Red's attention. This was in the Echo earlier on. Following reports in Spain that Jules Kounde could be put up for sale this summer, fans may do well to keep an extra eye on the Frenchman this evening. Kounde looks certain to start for France in their crucial game, which they did. Went on to say the Echo mentioned earlier how Liverpool could perhaps do with another recruit in light of Conor Bradley and Jeremy Frimpong's injury issues at right back last season. Kounde was what was this? Kounde, I think they meant to say would, spell check there. Kounde would represent a potential upgrade on both those options and drive competition in defence. So, also max into the quad. I'm surprised that we haven't seen Liverpool maybe push on a little bit with that when Chelsea came in. But as I said, we have our irons in a very specific fire at the minute. What was this one? One sec. So, David Lynch for Born and Red LFC said, with Gakpo, what's interesting, Liverpool made it clear to me they would sell him for the right price. If somebody comes in with the right money, which is a big if, I think they'd be looking in the region of 65 to 70 million. Also, for the same interview, with Born and Red, David Lynch said, on the Diomande deal, I do lean towards the idea that this gets done. The players certainly indicated that Liverpool to be pushing hard to get this desired move. I think Leipzig wouldn't be engaging at all if they had no desire to sell, and I think Liverpool have shown that they're willing to pay a big fee. They really do rate him. I know for a fact he's the number one target. Hopefully we will get a good conclusion. Then speaking with Born and Red again, David said, for Bradley Barcola, I think it's a deal that feels tied to Cody Gakpo. And I agree with that. We've been saying that quite a while here. It does feel like if we are to get Barcola or move in that direction, it would be after a sale of Cody Gakpo, which the BBC say that Cody Gakpo could be yours for £60 million. That's what a report Anfield Watch posted, crediting the BBC earlier on, said Liverpool would listen to offers of around 60 million for Cody Gakpo. Then we talked about Opta. Opta Records confirmed that Rio Nguemo is the most heavily used Liverpool player starting a season under the age of 18 since Raheem Sterling in 2012-2013 and Michael Owen in 1997-1998. Adam Williams on Liverpool's projected returns for the 26-27 season said, if I had to put a figure on how much the total commercial and broadcast revenue will rise to in 2026-27, I'd put it up around 5%. Now, I said to you guys a while ago when we were talking about FSG maybe selling, that the rumours were that there's going to be a 5 to 6% growth in revenues in football over the next year or two, and that's why I didn't think that you would see FSG looking to sell just yet. He goes on to say, so if Liverpool win the league, they'd get roughly £210 million, depending on how many of their matches are televised. But as an absolute minimum baseline, the worst of the worst case scenarios, they'd be getting about £150 million. That's pretty extraordinary when you compare it to, say, Serie A, where the champion gets about £70 million. And that is mad. Like, best case scenario versus the champion of Serie A, there's almost, well, it's exactly 3 times the amount to win the Premier League if you get the right broadcast revenue and you're on TV enough. 210 million quid versus 70 million quid. Then there was a report from Tom Colomos, crediting Anfield Sector with this. They said Nottingham Forest are thought to be considering a move for Curtis Jones. Bournemouth coaches Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper have agreed deals to leave the club and are now set to join Andoni Iraola at Liverpool. Both needed to agree terminations before being allowed to leave. Deals will be signed this weekend, said Anfield Sector. So that's pretty much where we're at with most of that news. As I mentioned, I do have a few bits coming up though in a later video. And if my inbox is full of stuff I haven't had a chance to look at yet either. Craig, you should support Ivory Coast at the World Cup because they have the same colours as the Ireland flag, the other way around. Yeah, no, I'm a Messi fanboy, mate. I'm very firmly hoping that Messi can do it again, but I don't think that they will. But that's where my support is for the World Cup. Do you think Iraola would have won more than what Slot won with Klopp's team? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a tough one because I never thought in year one that Slot was going to win the league, and he did. And that was, in a weird way, probably part of his undoing because that was then, the threshold, the level that everybody was expecting. Do I follow the League of Ireland? Loosely. Shelbourne would be my club, but, I wouldn't call myself an avid follower of the League of Ireland, no. Which, I should watch more of. I'll be upfront about that. I should. Especially would have been Friday nights a lot of the time. World Cup round of 32 so far. Brazil versus Japan. Netherlands versus Morocco. Norway versus Ivory Coast. USA versus Bosnia. South Africa versus Canada. So let me try to predict them. Brazil are beating Japan. Netherlands, Morocco, I think that one goes to penalties. That's a really tough one to call. I think Norway beat the Ivory Coast. I think the USA beat Bosnia. And I think Canada beat South Africa. Is Ekatike still out till Christmas? Yes. He's apparently, from an article about a month ago, he was aiming for the Christmas period to get back training. So Boxing Day was the phrase that was used in the article. What else we got? Oh, Lewis is in the chat. Lewis, how are we, mate? Lewis, I think, has another news video coming out in the morning. And while we have Lewis in the chat, can we all just give him a big welcome? I have to say, it's been lovely seeing Lewis's videos, filling in for Connor while Connor's been away. And I think you can all join me in saying he's done a fantastic job. So, Lewis, my man, thank you. Great to have you on the team. And I'm personally really enjoying his work as well. So, it's been great to get to know him a little bit more over the last few weeks as well. Japan are a decent team. They could easily surprise a mediocre Brazil team. I don't think they will, Gary. I don't. I think Brazil just have that little bit of class. And I was watching a few of the Japan games in this World Cup. They're a very good squad. And they probably have the most united, close squad in the World Cup. But I just think Brazil will do it. Not win the World Cup, I mean. But I think they get through that one. Ethan said, Craig, I'm only in. Can you give me an update? I've just went through them all. I can't give you another update, mate. I've just gone through from start to finish a minute ago on all the news, and I only have about 10 minutes left. Does Norway have a chance against Ivory Coast? Well, personally, I'd make them favourites against the Ivory Coast. I have to say I would. They got to rest a lot of their players. So I think a fresh Norway, they're a good team. So yeah, I would if I was putting a bet on, I'd be betting for Norway to come through that one. Lovely comments towards Lewis as well in the chat, which I know he really appreciates. So Connor should be back in the content realm on Sunday, all going well. But Lewis will be stepping in to do a morning video again tomorrow, which I greatly do appreciate. What's your opinion on the hydration breaks? To quote an Irish phrase, it's a load of me bollocks. That's what I think of them. It's an absolute shit show. And the only part of it I've enjoyed is the booing. That's it. It's an absolute piss take, money grab, stupid idea. Football, it just ruins the flow of a game. And there's so many charts and graphs now to show that a change in dynamic has happened after those hydration breaks. And that's not football. Football's played in 2 halves, not 4 quarters. So, no, I don't like them. If they were going to have a water break, let's be honest, you could do it in 60 seconds, easily. The idea of 3 minutes is just ridiculous. George said, hey Craig, go to Edinburgh next week on Wednesday. Have you ever been? I've never been to Scotland, George. No, never been at all to Scotland. They make so much money anyways, and to have these breaks, even more shambolic. I don't think FIFA are making money really from the breaks. I think it's the television companies that are making the money. It's not football. There's always been a system in place. If the weather's warm and players need a water break, that system's always been in place. This is just nothing but a cash grab. I couldn't stand putting ads in the middle of the Six Nations, Craig. Sports are becoming so Americanized. I don't want to have a dig at Americans or anything. That's not what this should be about. But this isn't football. And I don't think we're going to see these in the next World Cup or anything like that. I don't expect to see them brought into the Champions League or anything. It just feels like sometimes you're only getting into a game, because sometimes the first 10, 15 minutes of games are fairly cagey. Teams are feeling each other out. And then you're only getting into the swing of it. And then a hydration break. It's just, I don't know. It's taken away some of the free flow of nature. Would you want the World Cup to be in America again? Look, as a hosting perspective, America has everything needed to host the World Cup. There are pros and cons with any country, and America's a big country, so that's sort of a con if you have to travel from one side to the other. But They're more than capable with infrastructure, stadiums, stuff like that. They're well used to hosting these big events. So outside of the money grab, I think America's, of course, they're not on their own here. Canada and Mexico are there as well. But I have to say, visually, I think everything has looked brilliant. I think all the stadiums look top notch. All the host countries have done an amazing job getting them ready. It's just, this feels like the rip-off World Cup for fans. And it feels like it's been overly commercialised to the detriment of a lot of football fans. The RT World Cup broadcast is terrible. They also have ad breaks for the hydration breaks. Yeah, some of the punditry hasn't been the old greatest on RTE. And I was only talking earlier on about Darren Maloney calling Chow-Mani, which winds me up as well. But I bet you he can spell Diomande, so... Beyond the Cops, the World Cup final is the most momentum-filled match on the calendar, and having a hydration break is just going to kill the momentum. Oh, don't worry though, Lewis, because we'll also have a stupid halftime show, which is going to make halftime longer than is allowed in FIFA's own rules. So not only will you have the glorious little hydration breaks, but you'll also have a little dance break in the middle as well. So yeah, they're doing that, which, again, no. Do it fucking before the game if you want to do it. Nobody needs a halftime little mini concert. Like, it's crazy. What's your favourite takeaway? Pizza. Always pizza. Haven't had a takeaway in a long time, though. I don't really tend to get takeaways because I usually eat about 1 a.m. and there's nothing open about that time. Pundits on ITV far better than the BBC for the World Cup. I've certainly enjoyed their coverage more. Yeah, I think ITV have done a better job than BBC. BBC sticking with the old green screen. Ken said almost spent 2k for tickets to see Norway and France today. It's a cash grab, sadly. It is, man. It's crazy. Now, look, one thing I will say about the World Cup in a positive sense is the fans have been incredible. The fans have been absolutely brilliant, and they have represented their countries so well. That's always a great thing to see in the World Cup. It is brilliant to see all the camaraderie, people coming together, sharing all these lovely moments. That is what football should be about. That is the power of sport. So to the fans that have made the way over from any country, awesome, absolutely awesome. It's been brilliant to see. And I think Scotland's fans have probably done more positive PR for their country than any politician could ever do. Same with the Norwegian fans and the Japanese fans. It's just so many. A lot of the African nations as well always bring incredible support. If there's one thing I know Keno will agree with me on, can we stop banging fucking drums? That does my head in. Just this repetitive drum, 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 drum. I hate it. Football should be a living, breathing thing, and so should the rhythm that goes with it. Can't beat the Orange fans of the Netherlands. They've been incredible as well. Yeah, incredible. The big march that they had to the games as well. Oh, look, I think the fans have been brilliant at this World Cup. Absolutely incredible. You know what's funny, lads? In Euro 2028, Everton will have to put Liverpool in the stadium where the game's being played. I'm not sure if UEFA's rules are the same as FIFA's, but if it is, then yeah, you're spot on. They won't be able to call it the Hill Dickinson. Did you see some of the posts even at some of the FIFA media lounges and stuff? They've even been putting black tape over the condiments, like the ketchup and the mayo and all, like, because they haven't paid to have their sponsorship. So heaven forbid you seen an old bottle of Heinz ketchup or something and you could read the name on it. Mr. A. Santino said, this is why I watch it on Telemundo. The shots of the crowd are spectacular. Yeah, the crowd have been so cool. It really, really has. And celebrity spotting. I have enjoyed a bit of celebrity spotting as well. Both stadiums in LA and Dallas are domes. And yet corrupt FIFA decided to go with crappy MetLife Stadium in New Jersey for the final. Hopefully it's not pouring rain or windy. Look, America has some incredible stadiums. I remember I was listening to BBC yesterday, and they were talking about Arrowhead Stadium and how unique that was as well. Even though I think that they're looking to move from there, the Chiefs, in 2031. But yeah, look, Some of those stadiums are just incredible. And like you've said, the Cowboy Stadium, the NRG Stadium in where the Texans play as well. Then you've got the Kroenke owned that stadium in LA where the Super Bowl was. The ones where the Rams play, I can't remember the name of the fucking SoFi Stadium. That's absolutely out of this world. World Cup final should have been in the Azteca. Spiritually, absolutely yes. That would have been incredible. Have you seen the backdrop of the Monterrey Stadium as well? That looks sublime. College stadiums are bigger than the Premiership stadiums. Yeah, but the problem with that is, what do America have against covering in fans? All the stadiums and the college football and stuff, they're all bowls with no protection for the fans whatsoever. I can't believe they get away with that in America. I know there's lots of stadiums that have roofs and covers and stuff, but you look at some of the big stadiums, 100,000 plus, and there's no coverage for the fans. They're just exposed to the elements completely. The most confiscated item of the TSA in the last couple of weeks has been ranch dressing. That's nuts. That is actually mind-boggling. I love these silly little stats though, so well done for sharing. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to wind this stream down. As you can see, the clock is ticking down. Tomorrow, it'll be pretty much my day off. Lewis will be here in the morning with a news video. I'll pop in at some point during the day with a news video, but tomorrow is going to be my day of rest. So I'll be back here on Sunday to hopefully talk through some more transfer stories. Connor should be back at the helm as well at that point. Thank you so much to everyone that did join us for tonight's stream. There is a news video that'll be out in the next 20 minutes or so keep an eye out for that one dropping with a couple of new bits of information that we haven't talked about yet. As always, though, thank you so much for giving up some of your Friday to come and have a chat with me. If you've enjoyed the stream, please hit that like button for me before you head off. We're not even at 500. Come on now. We can get those likes up. And if you haven't subscribed, would love you to do that as well. Other than that, my friends, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the World Cup games later on this evening. Thank you so much for dropping in. And don't forget to check out Lewis's video in the morning as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Much love. Bye-bye.